Hello, with an intro from my car. I am sitting outside Mellow Mushroom to kick off Malerman May. This is, excuse me, this is my first author taste test video. And this month I'm going to be reading Josh Malerman books for the first time to see if I want to purchase his new book coming out in June, Incidents Around the House. So I'm going to start by listening to the audiobook of Bird Box because that is a movie that I've seen. The other books that I'm going to be reading for this Malerman Taste Test vlog are Daphne, The House, I think it's called The House Under the Lake, and I have one more too. Oh, Spin a Black Yarn. Because I felt like Bird Box was a good one to start with since I'm familiar with the movie. Daphne because it's a longer book of his. The House Under, I think it's a house at the bottom of the lake because it is kind of got a romance mixed in with the horror. And then Spin a Black Yarn because it's short stories. I felt like this would give me like a wide variety of Malerman. So I will take you into Mellow Mushroom with me and we'll kick off Malerman May. See ya in the next check-in. Bye. Hello, it's Saturday morning about 11 and I've had to change some of my plans for this vlog. I have not had this happen before, but when I got back on my Everand to continue reading or listening to Bird Box, it was no longer available as an audiobook. It's an ebook, but I'm not going to read an ebook on my phone. I'm just not going to do that. And I really wanted an audiobook. So I'm frustrated because it suddenly said it's not available in my country and I don't understand what happened. But I did find a used copy of Bird Box that I ordered. It was only $5. So now I'm going to be physically reading Bird Box and Spin a Black Yarn. Now I do have the audiobook for Daphne, so I will be listening to that. I had already used my credit in April to get Daphne from Libro FM. So that way I would already have it ready. So now I'm going to also be reading in ebook format on my Kindle, A House at the Bottom of a Lake, I think is the title. But I just wanted to update you and let you know that now I have one audiobook for this vlog, 2 physical books, and 1 ebook. So I only got 1 chapter into Bird Box. The thing that I noticed already is that the book picks up differently at the beginning from the movie. I haven't watched the movie in years and I don't want to rewatch it right now because I don't want to get it mixed up with the book. So I will probably rewatch the movie after I finish the book. But as I can recall, in the beginning of Bird Box, the movie, you have kind of that build up to what's happening with whatever it is that people are seeing that makes them unalive themselves. But in the book, it opened up already with Mallory and her children getting on the boat. And I seem to remember that was like toward the end of the movie, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, I guess we go with the flow, right? But I just wanted to hop on and let you know that plans have changed a little bit, and I will check back in with you later. Bye. Hello, so I am back again with a car check-in. I am sitting outside a Mexican restaurant. I'm going to be going in a few minutes to have lunch with my best friend today. So as I was driving down, it's about like a 35-minute drive for me to get to this restaurant. So I started listening to Daphne and I am really enjoying it so far. So the main character's name is Kit and she deals with anxiety. and she keeps asking this question, is Daphne going to kill me? And she tries not to think about Daphne, but the more she tries not to think about Daphne, the more she thinks about her, which is obviously commentary on anxiety. And Daphne is this legend or myth. All I know so far about Daphne is that she is dead. She's been described as like blue-faced, wearing denim, 7 feet tall, and that when she was found dead in her garage, she was gripping the steering wheel and her fingers had to be pried off the steering wheel. So this haunting presence of Daphne is lingering in the mind of our main character. And at the opening of the book, Kit, she completes a free throw at the last second of a game to win. She's on a girls' basketball team, and these girls like to ask questions of the rim, yes or no questions. And if the ball makes it in, the answer is yes. If it doesn't, then the answer to their question is no. And whenever Kit makes this game-winning shot, she asks the question, is Daphne going to kill me? Well, of course, as I mentioned, it's a game-winning shot. The ball goes in, so the answer is yes. And I really appreciate the anxiety representation. There are some really great quotes about anxiety so far, and I am about to go into the rest right now, but I wanted to give you my quick thoughts on Daphne. Check in later. Bye. Hello, it is Monday morning around 9 or 9:30. I am very tired. Thankfully I don't have a headache or any nausea or anything like that, but I had some couple of pretty big margaritas when I was celebrating with my friend yesterday. So I am just feeling the effects of that as far as being really, really sleepy. Um, I wanted to check in and say that I am now 18% into Daphne, and I am still very much enjoying it. So we started to, in the portion I started listening to this morning, with another character's point of view. This character is Tammy, and she's, I guess, like in the 8th grade because she's really good at basketball, and so she kind of gets to be on the team, I guess, with the high school girls. She doesn't really have that starring role yet, but it's expected that it's going to happen. But she has started thinking about Daphne too, because she was at that sleepover whenever Natasha, who is one of the other basketball players, told the story of Daphne. So not only is Daphne haunting Kit, but now she's also haunting Tammy. And there are some instances possibly that could be seen as Daphne's presence coming back, but we don't really know for sure because we're getting that point of view from Tammy, who, like Kit, is already afraid of Daphne, and kind of seeing her, evidence of her presence in different places. But I am definitely enjoying Daphne so far. Today, I've got to run a couple of errands, and then my son is coming home for a week. He is on break between terms in school, and so he has taken off work for this week too, so that he can come home and spend some time with us. So I'm looking forward to that. I've got some cleaning I need to do around the house too, so I'm hoping between running errands and getting cleaning done before my son gets here, that I will be able to listen to more of Daphne. But I will check back in with you later when I have updates. Bye. This is my mulberry bush. I say my, but my husband is really the one behind it. So I am picking these mulberries now. Hello, it is Wednesday, May 8th. It's about 10:45 in the morning, and I wanted to come back on and do a check-in. So since I came on and checked in the last time, I have made it 46% into Daphne, and I am still enjoying this book. It is getting genuinely creepy. We've had another character death, a murder under these very suspicious circumstances. We're getting more background and connections to the legend of Daphne. And as I mentioned, we are still not sure exactly how much of this Daphne legend is true. Is this ghost woman coming back and committing these murders? Is there someone who is kind of obsessed with Daphne that's committing these murders? There's still a lot of questions, but I really enjoy the way that Josh Malerman tells this story. So I've also started physically reading another one of my Josh Malerman books for this vlog, and that is Spin a Black Yarn. This is 5 novellas. So the one that I'm reading right now, I've gotten 15 pages into it, and it's like 60 pages. This one is called Half the House is Haunted. It says a sister insists to her little brother that half the house is haunted by a strange presence. But is it the house that's haunted or their childhoods? And something interesting that Josh Malerman has done so far, like I said, I'm not very far into it, but in Half the House is Haunted, this older sister who is trying to scare her little brother tells him that, of course, half the house is haunted. But she keeps making him wonder what half of the house it is. And so not only is it in terms of you know, half the house, as in the house over on this side is haunted and the house over on this side is not. She said half the house could mean a lot of different things. What if the upper part of the house is haunted, but not the lower part of the house? What if you take a few steps here and this part of the house is haunted, but then you take a few steps here and this house part of the house is not haunted, and then you take these steps next to it is haunted again. So it's a lot of questions about what does half the house mean, and also questions about what does it mean to be haunted, who or what is doing this haunting. And I really am having a good time with it so far. The next novella in this collection is titled Argyle, and it is about a dying man who confesses to homicides he never committed and reveals long kept secrets far more sinister than murder. The third novella in this collection is called The Jupiter Drop, and it is about a tourist that takes the ultimate trip to outer space, but the real journey is into his own dark past. The next novella is Doug and Judy Buy the House Washer. And this is about a trendy married couple that buys the latest home gadget only to find themselves trapped by their possessions, their history, and each other. I think I'm fixing to sneeze. So sorry about that. And the fifth and final novella is Egorov. I hope I'm saying that right. It's about a wealthy old bully who murders a young man, not knowing the victim was a triplet. The two surviving brothers stage a savage faux haunting, playing the ghost of their slain brother with the aim of driving the old murderer mad. So, like I said, I'm only 15 pages into the first novella in this collection, but I am enjoying it so far. I'm definitely enjoying Daphne. Um, if I had to give a prediction right now about whether Josh Malerman is an author that works for me, I would say yes. But I still have, a good deal to go, a little over halfway in Daphne. Um, most of the novellas in this collection I haven't read, only a little bit of the first. And then I still have two other books by Josh Malerman that I'm going to be reading: Bird Box and A House at the Bottom of the Lake. But my prediction right now is I will want to buy Josh Malerman's new book coming out in June, Incidents Around the House. So we'll see. Stay tuned to see if my optimism pays off or if my hopes are dashed into the depths once again. Bye. Hello, it's about 10:45 Friday morning, May 10th, and I finished Daphne last night. I gave it 4 stars. So I'm glad that my prediction held true, and that I ended up enjoying the book. It is so it's kind of difficult to explain, because it's kind of like it's in the slasher kind of genre, but it's dealing with so much more. I really appreciate, as I mentioned before, the representation of anxiety disorder that the main character has. But when you start to kind of unpack the layers of this book, you realize that it's also about collective repression, dealing with trauma, how to handle trauma when it resurfaces in a way that you can continue on with your life without repressing or burying everything to the detriment of yourself and those around you. It was just there was so much to it. So I'm excited to keep moving forward with Josh Malerman's work, and I've also, since last time I checked in, I might have finished it before. I can't remember, but I did finish Half the House is Haunted, which is the first novella in the collection Spin a Black Yarn. And one of the things that I noticed was there is a direct quote in Daphne that is also in Spin a Black Yarn. And I need to research. I meant to do it before I came on to see which was published first, whether it was Spin a Black Yarn or Daphne. I think it was Daphne, but I'm going to check on that. But anyway, this is the quote: "Everything you want is on the other side of fear." So in Daphne, Kit, the main character, her father tells her that. I believe it's her father. And in Spin a Black Yarn, it is a quote that the older sister read in a book, in the library in their house. And then she shares that with her younger brother once they're adults. She writes this letter to him. And she says, here's a phrase from the book, and this book was titled Fear. Excuse me. Here's a phrase from the book that stuck with me. Hundreds have stuck, but particularly this one: everything you want is on the other side of fear. And that is something that is going to stick with me, especially because it resonated with me when I read it in Daphne, and then it resonated with me again in Spin a Black Yarn. So I feel like that's also the mark of a good author whenever they write something that really sticks in your mind. And that is going to stick in my mind. So I really loved Half the House is Haunted. And I have started the next novella called Argyle. That's the one about the man who's on his deathbed and he reveals something sinister. And I've only gotten like a couple of pages into it, but he's already started to ask questions of his family, like, have you ever had these really dark urges? So I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. I will check back in with you at some point. I've got a busy day. I'll be doing a grill out with some family tonight. I'll be going out of town for a couple of days, tomorrow and Sunday. So it's going to be a busy weekend, but I will check in as I can and let you know how the rest of my Mallerman May is going. It's good so far. So fingers crossed it stays that way. See you in the next check in. Bye. Coming back on to let you know really quickly, I just checked and Daphne was published in 2022 and Spin a Black Yarn in 2023. So Daphne was first. That's all. Bye. Car check-in and a fun story time. So I told you previously in one of my check-ins that Bird Box, I had been listening to it on Everand. Then suddenly it was unavailable in my country. And yesterday it became available again. And today I got the print copy, but all is well. Hopefully I will enjoy this book enough, listen to it on audio, that I would have wanted a print copy anyway. I can't remember exactly what chapter I've gotten to in listening to it, but I am several chapters in, and it's also being told, I had mentioned when I first checked in that it opened up with Mallory and her children getting on the boat when her kids, I can't remember how old they are at that point, maybe, I don't know, somewhere between 6 and 10. At any rate, now it's kind of flashing back to when she finds out she's pregnant, and that's as the beginning of everything, when all hell is starting to break loose. There were reports coming in the news of incidents occurring in different parts of the world other than the United States, but as the chapters go on, the incidents start getting closer and closer to home where she is. I don't want to give any spoilers, but something terrible happens to a member of her family, and that's where I left off. So we're just kind of getting the beginnings of what's happening. News stories are coming out, and it's kind of like this slow progression of horrific events that begin to expand across the globe and get more and more prevalent. And if I recall in the movie, it kind of starts off when everything has pretty much already gone to hell. But I like getting the kind of build up to it and the way that people react. You had some people who were from the get-go, pretty much as soon as these stories started breaking, like Mallory's sister, I think her name is Shannon. She was immediately kind of going into action with trying to cover their windows with blankets. You had people who were already using like some bandanas and bandages and stuff to tie around their eyes. But the premise is that whatever is happening, there's something outside, something that people see that turns them homicidal and then suicidal. So it's pretty good so far. It's unnerving. I'm enjoying it. Again, I guess that speaks to my depravity, right? But anyway, I'm going to get out of my car now and unload these groceries and get the rest of my day going. But I wanted to check in and say, hey, now I have a print copy. Well, I have the audio book too, but that's good. That's fine. I'll check back in later. Bye. Hello, I'm checking in from my comfy chair. It is Monday, May 13th, about 1:30 in the afternoon. I've made it about halfway through Bird Box. I've been mostly listening to it on audio. So where I have recently left off, we have Mallory, who is on the boat with her children, moving from the safe place where she was, going to another place. And I haven't gotten to the part that explains why she had to leave the house she was in. So this house that she's been in is the second house. I'm trying to think of how to explain this. I think I've talked about in my previous check-in that her sister died, so she left that house to go to a safe house that she had read about in I think it was a newspaper article. So we're mostly spending time between that second house where there are other people there with her, and then it'll go back, to like the present time in the book where Mallory and her two children are traveling across is it a river, a lake, some kind of body of water to go to another place. So I'm still waiting to find out what happened at the second location she went to, where she had, people with her. Something's obviously happened where she has to leave that place. So one of the things that I found out since I last checked in is where the name of the book, Bird Box, comes from. and I always like to, be reading my book or watching a movie or whatever, and then the title like clicks into place, and you're like, okay, now I see why this, has the title that it does. So that was interesting. I'm actually enjoying it. I know it's gotten kind of mixed reviews, but I'm enjoying the book. So, like I said, I'm about halfway finished with it. Other than reading, I have been just trying to kind of rest today. I was gone over the weekend to my parents' house. My sister and I surprised my mother for Mother's Day. We told my dad that we were coming, but we didn't tell my mom. So she was genuinely surprised when we got there Saturday. And, we spent the night Saturday night because my parents live like 3.5 hours away. So it was really wonderful to get to spend time with my parents. And I have talked about this on the channel before. My mom has Parkinson's. So it's, it's difficult, but it was a good time to spend time with her like that. I'm going to go now and get some coffee and get back to reading Bird Box, and I will check in later. Bye. Hey, it's about 2 o'clock on Monday, May 13th, so this is not too long after the check-in that I just did, but I wanted to come back on and say that I finished the second novella in Spin a Black Yarn, and that is the novella titled Argyle, where you have an older man. Well, he's not really that old. I think he's in his 40s, which is my age. But anyway, he's on his deathbed and he's making this confession to all these sinister, dark urges that he's fought against his entire life. And so his family's there, his best friends are there, his boss comes in, and, he's just confessing to very specific ways over the years that he thought about killing them. Then we have this kind of interaction where his sister knew about all of this, and she was kind of always present to try to prevent this, as well as a friend of his, like his best friend, who he always called Argyle. She was always appearing to prevent him from actually following through on his darkest desires, except there's like kind of a twist at one point about that. But I can't really get into that because it would spoil it. I liked this one okay. I still, at this point, I liked Half the House is Haunted better than Argyle. So I'm going to get off here now and get back to reading Bird Box. And the next story in this collection is Doug and Judy by The House Washer. And I've read just like the first couple of pages of it. And we have apparently a very unlikable couple in Doug and Judy. They're described as being assholes, and it's like everybody knew they were assholes. And it starts listing off like all the different types of people who knew that Doug and Judy were assholes. But anyway, they buy this house washer, and apparently this is something that washes or cleans your whole house. But you have to be like inside of a tube to be protected from whatever the chemical is that is going to clean your whole house. So I don't really know why you don't leave your house and let it clean, but I guess you have to be there to supervise. I don't know yet, but you are supposed to be inside this tube. And the person that Doug and Judy bought the house washer from, she was trying to give them all of the specific details and making sure that they knew to stay inside the tube. But Doug and Judy being assholes, apparently they're not paying a lot of attention to what the salesperson is telling them. So I don't know if that's going to be what happens to them if something turns out badly in that respect. But I will check back in when I have an update and go from there. Bye. Hello, it is Tuesday, May 14th. It's about 11 o'clock in the morning, and I am hopping back on because when I was doing my last check-in, I forgot to mention that in the novella Argyle, that the dying man makes reference to hanging out with a character by the name of Randy Scotts, who was a serial killer in their town. And Randy Scotts was also mentioned in Josh Malerman's book, Daphne. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool because we've got like this connection, this kind of multiverse that Josh Malerman is building. Then they referenced the fact that Randy Scott's was called the Sam Hatton Boogeyman, and Sam Hatton is where Daphne took place, and that's where this story Argyle is taking place also. And I was getting all giddy and excited, and then we had this line: "We spent years afraid of Randy Scott's, and a summer afraid of Daphne." And I was like, "Oh my God, Daphne specifically mentioned." So yeah, that's all. I just thought I would come in and be like, hey, guess what? I plan to hopefully get at least all of Doug and Judy by, what's it called? Doug and Judy by a house washer. Um, I'm Doug and Judy by the house washer. I'm hoping to finish that one today and maybe one other novella. I am pretty close to being done listening to the audiobook of Bird Box, and I've got some cleaning to do today. So I should be able to finish this one today. I will check back in when I have more updates. Bye. Hello, it's Wednesday morning. It's about 8:30. I'm getting ready to teach a poetry class in a few minutes, but I wanted to check in before I do that and let you all know that I did finish Bird Box yesterday. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this book. I can't really say a lot about the last parts of it because it would be very much a spoiler deal kind of thing, but I did, of course, get the backstory as I kept reading into why Mallory's had to leave that location where she was, and travel down the river to another place. And I can't really tell you what happened there because, again, spoiler territory. I also got a twist involving her children, and that's all I can really say about that. I don't think I've mentioned this before either, but one of the interesting things is that she calls her children boy and girl. So she's never given them like official names, and I just thought that was kind of interesting. Um I'm trying to think of what else to say about this book because like I said, it's hard to talk about it without giving spoiler details out, but I did really enjoy it. And I will be watching the movie again, just for fun since I finished the book. I also finished another novella in the collection Spin a Black Yarn. The one that I finished was when I had talked about previously in a check-in, Doug and Judy by the house washer. It is kind of hard to explain that one, but the house washer ends up not only washing, things like their walls or furniture, but it also starts washing photo albums and bringing up things from the past. One of the quotes from the novella is every house has its secrets because, as I previously mentioned, Doug and Judy have to be inside this tube to be protected from the solution that's cleaning the house. But what this novella is really about is how you have this couple who has basically given up their humanity in order to climb to the top of the social ladder. They have stepped on people along the way. They've hurt each other, they've hurt other people. They're very obviously consumed by greed and consumed by wanting to buy the best of everything. They keep on saying things like, this better do XYZ because of how much we paid for it. It is just a really sad kind of story too, because at one point, Judy is talking about someone from her past who has pursued a passion, something that she's very emotionally invested in with her life. And she's not making a lot of money. And Judy says, basically, yeah, she's not making a lot of money, but I destroyed her because I was jealous of her happiness. So it's not even just that they have stepped on people to get ahead, materially, but also this idea that Judy is so consumed with greed and wanting to achieve a certain social status that she sacrificed her own happiness, but then she's jealous of someone else's happiness. And I just found this to be a story I would like to revisit because I feel like there's a lot to pull out from it. So I'm going to go now and get ready to teach my poetry class. But before I do, I am going to mention also, I do have the Kindle edition of A House at the Bottom of a Lake, but I'm going to go ahead and listen to that on audio because I've got more cleaning to do today and I need an audio book. So I'm going to go ahead and listen to that one. And I will check back in later, let you know what I'm feeling about A House at the Bottom of a Lake and how the next story in Spin a Black Yarn is going. The next one is The Jupiter Drop, which is about a tourist who takes a trip to space, but the real journey is into his own dark past. So I'm excited to get into that. So far, my Josh Malerman, my Malerman May is going well. So fingers crossed it continues. Talk to you soon. Bye. Hey, car check-in. So it's not the best lighting, but I just got finished at a doctor's appointment just for a checkup of everything. I'm about to meet my oldest for lunch at Mellow Mushroom. I wanted to come on and say that I finished A House at the Bottom of a Lake yesterday. I listened to it all in one day. I had a lot of cleaning to do, so I was able to just immerse myself in the audiobook. And I really liked it. I ended up giving it 4 stars, but I do want to give a few disclaimers. First of all, I would consider it more of a kind of, and I'm not a romance fan either, but I'm trying to explain why I liked it. It was more of a romance, not really a horror, but it was about first love and young love because the main characters are 17 years old. Their first date is like so cool. They take a canoe to go have a picnic. And their plans are to visit, there's like this lake that kind of everybody knows, but they want to go visit a second lake that's not as well known. But when they're on the second lake, they discover a third lake, which is even more unknown. But the weird thing is, as they're kind of exploring that third lake, they realize that there is a house at the bottom of this lake. And they begin to explore the house, but it's really a metaphor for first love, for all of the excitement, all of the fear, all of the new experiences. There's a lot to do with like some uncanny elements, I would say. For example, the tables and the chairs and the other objects in the house at the bottom of the lake that should float, instead they stay in one place. The couple experiences like highs in the relationship and then lows, and then I feel like I have to be careful because I don't really want to give anything away, but I feel like it also explores the kind of aftermath of everything being new, right? When everything sort of becomes old hat. I don't know how to say this. I'm probably doing a terrible job of explaining it, but I don't know. Maybe I can formulate better thoughts after I get back home. But I did want to say that I finished it and I really loved it. I am in the last story now of, what is that one? Spin a Black Yarn, Igorov, which is about triplets, and one of the triplets is murdered, and the 2 remaining brothers decide that they want to get revenge on their brother's murderer by haunting him. And there are a lot of really awesome quotes that I want to share, but I want to finish the story first. But I feel like this one could be a 5-star. But I'm going to go ahead and go get a table, and I'll check back in with you later when I have some better formulated thoughts. Bye. Hello, it's Friday, May 17th at 4:30 in the afternoon. This is like the 7th or 8th time I have tried to film this clip because my internet has been sketchy, but even more so than that, I've tried to explain one of the novellas in Spin a Black Yarn titled The Jupiter Drop, and I cannot figure out a good way to explain that one. I gave it 3 stars. I'm going to move on from that one. And I'm going to talk about the last novella in this collection, which is Egorov. I ended up giving it 4 stars. In a previous check-in, I predicted that it was going to be 5 stars, but to me, it drug on too long. It took a very weird turn that just, I didn't know kind of exactly what Josh Malerman was trying to do with it, but I still enjoyed that one enough that I gave it a 4. It has some really interesting thoughts about triplets. Because as I mentioned in a previous clip, this story is about a triplet who is murdered. So his remaining brothers, they're all identical to, they decide to haunt the man who is guilty of his murder. And it is really a good story. It's got a really cool premise, but some of the stuff just drug out too long, and I can't really say exactly what part drug out too long because it might be spoiler territory. But I did tab a few quotes that I want to talk about because I thought it was really interesting. The idea that having twins would be kind of like the perfect pair, but if you have triplets, that's somehow uncanny, and it could be like an occult uh connection is what one of the quotes is. But I started thinking too about this idea of triplets as, being like a trinity, but possibly it could be an unholy trinity. And I'm trying to find some of the quotes. Of course, I had them marked and I've lost my place. This clip is just not meant to go well. But the third triplet is the one who was murdered. And for example, one of the quotes is, Mikhail was the third born, the ghost from the womb, the one born to haunt. So I don't know. It kind of makes me want to go on a deep dive into symbolism of triplets. Let me see. I know there was more stuff about triplets, and I just am not able to pinpoint it today. Okay, it also describes the triplets as being identical to the point of uncanny. So that also made me think about the idea of doppelgangers, which, if you're a twin or a triplet and you're identical, I guess that's not exactly a doppelganger, but it still kind of made me start thinking about that. So I don't know. I did obviously like that story a lot, and it's left me with plenty of things that I want to research. So if I average out my ratings for all of the stories in this collection, the average comes out to like 4 point something. And it's also interesting when I think about, that being 4, because I ended up giving Daphne a 4, Bird Box a 4, and A House at the Bottom of the Lake a 4. So my overall experience from Josh Malerman has been a 4-star experience. So the verdict is in. I have pre-ordered Incidents Around the House, which I don't think I've told you about what the story is about. So give me just a minute, and I want to come back and tell you what Incidents Around the House is about. So I'll be right back. Okay, so now I'm back to tell you about Josh Malerman's upcoming book to be released on June 25th, titled Incidents Around the House. To 8-year-old Bella, her family is her world. There's Mommy, Dado, and Grandma Ruth. But there is also Other Mommy, a malevolent entity who asks her every day, Can I go inside your heart? When horrifying incidents around the house signal that other mommy is growing tired of asking Bella the question over and over, Bella understands that unless she says yes, her family will soon pay. Other mommy is getting restless, stronger, bolder. Only the bonds of family can keep Bella safe, but other incidents show cracks in her parents' marriage. The safety Bella relies on is about to unravel. But other mommy needs an answer. Incidents Around the House is a chilling, wholly unique tale of true horror about a family as haunted as their home. That sounds so good. And since I have sampled several of Josh Malerman's works, and he has ended up being overall a 4-star author for me, I'm really looking forward to reading Incidents Around the House. Do you plan to read it too? Let me know down in the comments below. Also, let me know which Josh Malerman books I should check out next. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I would really appreciate it if you would hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you'll never miss a video from me. Bye.